We've got a lot of really bad things in the pipeline right now.
We sure do.
And one of them is this reauthorization of Section 702 in the Patriot Act and, the warrantless searches of Americans. If you stumble on to a terrorist and you start monitoring him and he calls somebody in the United States of America, then you can now track them and everything they do and everybody they call and so on and so on and so on. And so that's got to stop. And you don't need a warrant on these American citizens in order to do that. If you started with the terrorist or whatever, it's fair game. So
right.
They've never fixed that. They've never changed that. It continues to this day. And the other problem with the Patriot Act is it's rarely used on terrorists. How often does it even come up? It's often used on drug dealers.
Sure.
So it's got very little to do with terrorism. And I don't know how much they use it on terrorists. Maybe we don't know of a lot of the action that they take against terrorists. But we do know that Americans are being scooped up in this big, wide net they're casting. And it's just too general. It shouldn't be allowed to take place.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever
constitutionally
had a text with someone who had a text or emailed at someone who had an email.
Yeah. And you're implicated now? And they can follow you and monitor you?
Yeah.
So here's Speaker Mike Johnson on Section 702.
Okay.
When I was a member of the judiciary, I saw all the abuses of the FBI, the terrible abuses over and over and over, the hundreds of thousands of abuses.
Right.
And then when I became Speaker, I went to the SCIF and got the confidential briefing from sort of the other perspective on that to understand the necessity of Section 702 of FISA and how important it is for national security. And it gave me a different perspective. So I encourage all the members to go to the classified briefing and hear all that and see it so they can evaluate the situation for themselves. And I think some opinions have changed both ways, but that's part of the process. You got to be fully informed.
Yeah.
Have you been
during the class?
In other words, look, we just need to give up some freedom for our security. All right,
so
that's all.
Edward Snowden tweeted that video out, and his tweet to accompany that was, it's so true. This is a textbook case of congressional capture. With a single briefing, the intelligence agencies routinely transform their most strident critics into the tamest of cheerleaders. He didn't write this, but I wonder, what do they have on Mike Johnson?
Well, even if they don't have anything. I mean, I wonder, I was thinking that the briefing was there with, 6 guys with baseball bats. Is that where you get the briefing?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
and look,
amazing.
if you don't do this and there's an attack, Mr. Speaker, we're going to make sure that the nation knows that it's because you didn't reauthorize 702. Here's a quote from FBI Director Christopher Wray. Quote, "While it's imperative that we ensure this critical authority of 702 does not lapse, we must also not undercut the effectiveness of this essential tool with a warrant requirement of some similar restriction."
You don't want to do that. You don't want
too hard.
Don't restrict us here to...
That makes it harder to monitor people.
It does.
I don't want that. I don't want that. Let me do whatever I want with these American citizens. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's supposed to be hard to monitor people, to follow people, to surveil Americans especially. It's supposed to be hard. You should have to present some reason behind it. There's got to be... sorry, that's
I know.
The old-fashioned Constitution talk coming out.
It sure is.
Probable cause came to mind, and that's just so old-fashioned, and we already set fire to that a long time ago.
So I was trying to figure out what ancient thing you were referring to there for a second.
Yeah, it was something that... I mean, it began with, clear back in like 1213 or something, with something called the Magna Carta. And then, that was kind of used as a starting point for another really old-fashioned, antique, out-of-date piece of paper called the U.S. Constitution.
Here we go.
Silly. Yeah, right. I don't want to go there.
Here we go.
I don't even want to mention it. I hesitated to. But
all I know is the word woman isn't in the U.S. Constitution.
Thank you.
That's what I mean.
Neither is the word freedom. Wasn't that the line?
Yes.
Neither is the word freedom.
I mean, in the documentary Field of Dreams, it's quoted that it's supposed to be hard. The hard is what makes it great.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Can we quote you on that?
You can.
The hard
is what makes it great.
What makes it great.
That's was quoted in the documentary.
Jeff Fisher.
Field
everybody.
of Dreams.
Was it Kevin Costner that said it?
Oh, Tom Hanks.
Oh, okay. Oh, in what?
Did I say? What did I say?
You
Field
said Field of Dreams.
Oh yeah, no.
I was going to say Tom
not
Hanks
Field of
was
Dreams.
in that.
Yeah,
I missed his appearance at Field of Dreams.
The stupid girl baseball.
League of Their Own.
Yeah,
League of Their Own.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Stupid girl baseball.
I love the movie.
WNBA before time.
It's fine. I love the movie. I did love the movie. But...
And the Girls League, right?
Yes,
You love that too.
Yeah.
And you wish it still existed
I do,
today,
actually.
if I'm not mistaken.
I do.
Lauren Boebert on Section 702.
She gave us an update last night.
Okay.
The swamp. Conservatives got a major win this week when we killed the rule to extend FISA, which was used to spy on President Trump and attack the liberties of Americans. Nothing happens in D.C. without force. So now we are working with Speaker Johnson on what will hopefully be a much better deal that will include a vote to require the feds to get a warrant before tapping our phones and performing illegal searches on U.S. citizens.
It's not going to happen.
And this will be a 2-year reauthorization rather than a 5-year. This is something Americans of all backgrounds should agree on, and we are going to keep fighting this week and every week to protect your freedoms, your liberties. I will not back down on this. Thanks so much for your support.
So we appreciate that. But my understanding is the vote that's going to happen today.
Is it already a foregone conclusion?
Well, yeah. So she alluded there that it's going to be a 2-year reauthorization.
Yes.
Which, I mean, still not good enough.
That's still not good. No. Why would you reauthorize a bad bill? Stop it.
Just for a couple of years.
At least, reform it with the warrant being mandatory.
They would have to go in and
gotta get a warrant.
Read it and change some things in it.
I know. It'd make it harder. It would make it harder.
So this is so
you don't
confusing.
want that.
No,
this is such a rapidly changing story all week.
Yeah.
But so the rule still includes a vote. So they will still have a vote on the amendment that would add a warrant requirement.
Okay.
So maybe we
and they have until what, the 19th, until it's supposed to go away.
That's right.
Yeah, I think somewhere in there. What time is the vote today? Do people still have time to call their rep? Find out who your rep is if you don't already know. Hopefully you do. And call them and tell them that it's not okay to be surveilling Americans without a warrant.
Yeah. And the Capitol switchboard is 202-224-3121. That number again, 202-224-3121.
All right.
Yeah, well,
there you
I'm
go.
sure it'll
if
help.
they've seen the private briefing, then so.
Yeah.